Welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving into one of the most profound and, honestly, debated moments in the entire Ramayan, Bhagwan Ram's renunciation of Mata Sita.
Yeah, it's a big one for sure. A story that's really about so much more than just the event itself. I mean, you're talking about love and sacrifice and really getting to the heart of Dharma.
Exactly. It's one of those stories that just stays with you. And it raises so many questions, like why would Bhagwan Ram, known for his righteousness, seemingly just abandon his wife after they finally reunite?
Right. Especially after everything they went through together.
Exactly. Did he doubt her? Or was there something, I don't know, something bigger going on?
Well, those are exactly the questions we're going to try and unpack today.
I like it. Unpack. So in this deep dive, our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to understand these different layers of Dharma.
Dharma, that's duty and righteous conduct.
Right. It's like the whole natural order of things.
Okay, got it.
And alongside Dharma, we'll look at personal sacrifice and ultimately what this whole epic story reveals about Ram and Sita.
Sounds like a plan. So where do we even begin with this?
Well, let's start by setting the scene, right?
Okay, setting the scene. So picture this. Ram and Sita back in Ayodhya after years of exile and that massive war in Lanka.
A victorious return.
Totally. And to top it off, Ram's coronation. The whole kingdom is celebrating. It's supposed to be this time of peace and joy.
A new era.
Exactly. But, and there's always a but, isn't there? Whispers start circulating among the people.
Oh, so it's not all sunshine and roses.
Not exactly. And get this, the catalyst for all this unrest is, well, a pretty ordinary incident. The comment made by a washerman, Adobe.
A washerman? Really?
Yep. Seems like a regular guy, right? But what he says really hits a nerve. He basically says he wouldn't accept his own wife back if she had lived in another man's house, no matter how innocent she was.
Wow, that's pretty harsh.
It is. But what's really interesting is that this comment from this one guy, it clearly resonated with a lot of people, enough to create serious concern.
That's kind of scary how one comment can blow up like that.
I know, right? It makes you think about the power of public opinion, especially when you're talking about a ruler. Bhagwan Ram's, as king, he wasn't just a guy,
Like it was a symbol?
Yeah, like he represented the ideals of his whole kingdom, his actions, his family. It all reflected on everyone.
So this washerman's comment put Ram in a really tough spot.
A huge dilemma. Think about it. On one hand, you have his deep personal love for Sita. He knows what she went through. He trusts her completely. But on the other hand, he's got this massive responsibility, this Rajdharma.
Rajdharma, meaning?
The duty of a king. To ensure the well-being of his people, to maintain order, to keep their trust.
And that trust was shaken by the rumors about Sita.
Exactly. So he's stuck between his personal feelings and his duty as a king.
I mean, that's a classic conflict, right? The individual versus the needs of the many. Leaders have been grappling with that forever.
Oh, absolutely. And it forces us to ask, are there times when true leadership requires sacrifice? Giving up your own happiness for what you believe is the greater good.
That's a heavy question.
It is. But it's at the heart of Ram's dilemma, and it leads to this heartbreaking decision, the renunciation of Sita. He sends her away to the forest under Lakshman's protection.
I can't even imagine the pain of that, both for Ram and for Sita.
Yeah, it's a really tough moment in the story, and it often leads to a big misunderstanding. People assume that Ram doubted Sita's purity.
That he believed the rumors.
Right. But here's the thing. In all the versions of the Ramayan, Ram never questions Sita. Not once.
So his decision wasn't based on suspicion?
No, it was about Rajdharma, that conflict between being a husband and being a king. He knew Sita was pure, but he felt he had to act for the sake of his kingdom.
Wow. So he's basically sacrificing his own happiness to maintain peace and order.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. And you can imagine the internal struggle he must have gone through. His suffering was immense.
All right, so let's shift gears a bit. How did Sita handle all of this?
Well, what's remarkable is her strength and grace in the face of all this. She accepts her exile and finds refuge in Maharishi Valmiki's ashram.
In the forest.
Yeah.
Alone.
It's in that solitude that she gives birth to her sons, Love and Kush, and raises them.
I mean, that's incredible. To go through so much and still have the strength to raise a family.
It really speaks to her resilience. She doesn't break down. She doesn't plead for acceptance. She just lives with dignity.
It's like she understands her own worth, regardless of what others say or think.
Absolutely. She's a powerful example of inner strength, of not needing external validation.
And then years later, there's this incredible twist. Love and Kush They don't know who their father is, right?
No idea.
And they run into Ram in his army.
Can you imagine that encounter?
It's like something out of a movie. And get this, they recite the Ramayan in front of Ram, the story of their own parents.
Talk about a dramatic reveal. It eventually leads to Ram recognizing his sons and realizing that Sita is their mother. He calls for her to return to Ayodhya.
So a happy ending, right? Everyone's back together.
You'd think so. But Sita, she's not just going to sweep everything under the rug. She insists on one final test, one last affirmation of her purity.
Because the doubts, even after all these years, they still haven't completely disappeared.
Right. Even though Ram has accepted her and their sons, there's still this lingering shadow of suspicion from society.
So what does she do?
She calls upon Mother Earth, Bhudevi. It's a powerful prayer. She asks that if she has always been pure and faithful to Ram, that the earth would take her back.
Oh, wow.
And in this incredible moment, the earth splits open. Mata Sita, in her divine form, merges with Bhudevi, returning to her origin.
It's a powerful image of vindication, like the earth itself is bearing witness to her truth.
Exactly. And it also speaks to this idea of spiritual liberation, of transcending the pain and judgments of the physical world.
So taking a step back, what can we learn from this whole, roller coaster of events? What's the deeper meaning here?
Well, first you have this stark contrast between Rajdharma, the duty of a king, and personal dharma, your individual sense of right and wrong.
Okay, so two different kinds of dharma clashing.
Right. And Ram's sacrifice, it highlights the tough choices leaders sometimes have to make when your heart says one thing, but your duty demands something else.
It's a reminder that leadership comes with a heavy price.
Definitely. And then there's Sita. Her story is all about strength, about refusing to be defined by other people's opinions.
About owning your truth.
Exactly. And some interpretations view this whole episode as a cosmic Leela.
A cosmic what?
Leela. It's like a divine play orchestrated by the gods. This idea that everything that happens, the separation, the suffering, the reunion, it's all meant to teach us something.
To teach us about devotion, about duty, about relationships.
Right. It's a way of seeing the events as part of a larger cosmic plan.
Interesting. And finally, there's that powerful image of Sita returning to the earth. It's like she's finally free from all the pain and judgment.
It represents this idea of moksha, spiritual liberation, the ultimate goal in many Eastern philosophies.
So just to be clear, Ram's decision to renounce Sita, it wasn't because he doubted her.
Not at all. It was all about his duty as a king and the perceived needs of his kingdom.
And Sita, she emerges as this symbol of resilience, of grace, of feminine strength.
Her story is really inspiring, Even in the face of unimaginable injustice, she never loses her dignity.
It's a reminder that we all have the power to define ourselves, even when the world tries to tell us who we are.
Absolutely. And their story, even though it's full of sorrow, it teaches us about sacrifice, about dharma, and about the importance of staying true to yourself no matter what.
Such powerful lessons. As I'm listening to all this, it makes me think about those times in my own life when I felt that tension between what I personally believe and what society expects of me.
Yeah, those moments where you have to choose between what feels right and what you're supposed to do.
Exactly. And I'm curious, for those of you listening, what comes up for you? Have you ever faced a similar dilemma? It's something worth reflecting on. And maybe explore other stories from history or mythology where these kinds of conflicts play out. Thanks for joining.